Good evening and welcome to the news on Canal International. Right ahead, a sneak peek at tonight's top stories with the vocal insignia of Kejang Henry Atembe.
Martinez Zogo bearing fruits with the arrest of dozens of suspects. Ordered by the President of the Republic, Paul Biya, investigators are seriously at work. A mother and her set of newborn triplets confiscated by Mbingo Baptist Hospital authorities for unpaid bills after delivery through cesarean intervention. The underprivileged mother and father of the triplets are in dire need of subsistence, as the Mbingo Hospital has decided to keep them back until they pay the bill. And Urban Transport Company, Yango, suspended for non-compliance with norms. The suspension by the Ministry of Transport takes effect February. Ramsey Jr.
Assassination of journalist Martinez Zogo and the ensuing developments have continued dominating the headlines both within and without. Cases appear commendable with the ongoing. The perpetrators must be named and shamed.
This is the Source neighborhood located grew up ever since the discovery of his mangled and mutilated remains following his assassination last month. His childhood friends are still gripped in trauma. They say their biggest wish is for the identities of his killers to be revealed.
People are a bit happy because there are already a few names coming out. We hope that justice will do its job and we will really know who did this thing. In any case, we keep hope. We know that things will get out. We in this neighborhood, we do not know anything, but we trust the justice system that's in front of this whole thing. Justice that will really show us who the murderers of Martinez Zogo are.
At Amplitude FM, where Zogo worked as station manager, the mood still resembles that of a graveyard. Candles have continued burning, reflecting the pain of his close collaborators who hope with all their might that justice will be done, especially with the ongoing arrest of suspects.
In reality, it must be said, a very hard blow, because when we learned about it, the tragic death of our director of the radio station, Martinez Zogo, frankly, the mind was at zero, since when we went by Ebogo 3, we discovered his body. It must be said, everyone felt defeated.
Tout le monde était abattu.
As we have been demanding from the beginning, the macabre discovery of Martinez Zogo, that justice be done, we see that justice is being done. Because when we learned of the first arrests, we jumped with joy. We have understood that we must have faith in the justice of our country.
Martinez Zogo, in his program Embouteillage, regularly denounced corruption in Cameroon, an advocacy that apparently cost him his life in the long run.
Now on to something else. Here is the story of a lady who recently gave birth to triplets right here in Douala. In fact, instead of rejoicing after a successful cesarean section, she is in mourning mood as she helplessly watches her hospital bills rise by the day. Dee Maureen has been spending some time with the couple and says now that even the husband is totally cash-strapped and the couple is depending on the largesse of the public. Dee Maureen.
This young mother of triplets, 2 girls and a boy, can hardly express herself. She gets weaker by the day as she barely fits well to take care of her triplets. It's not easy with me. It's so difficult. I don't feel my body anymore. I'm shaking out of excess fatigue and lack of feeling. I don't know how the days ahead will look like. The babies are 2 weeks old. They spent a little over 2 weeks in the incubators after delivery at the Bingo Baptist Hospital in Douala. Their mother had them through a cesarean section at 7 months. With no one to assist her, she carries and feeds the babies all by herself. Even her husband can't help since he spends all day moving around in search of money to settle exorbitant bills and food for the mother. The couple say they can't cope with the high bills, which amounts to more than $1 million already. The hospital officials have refused to react to the situation. The bill is too high. The babies were born at 7 months and they had to be in an incubator, plus surgery fees. Medication and others is climbing to more than $1 million. I can't cope with the bills. I need help. I need the help of everyone. We need help. I don't know how my husband is coping. Please, we need help from all. We are begging on persons of goodwill, especially Mama Chantal Bia, to come to our aid. The 30-year-old father of triplets is a gardener. He is from Yagua in the Far North region and had to travel to Douala in search of greener pastures. The triplets make him a father of 4. He is reflecting how to start fending for his large family.
Now let's stay on in the news, because if you're a frequent user of the online taxi hailing app Yango, then this might come as an unpleasant surprise for you. A communique bearing the signature of the Minister of Transport has suspended until further notice all Yango activities in Cameroon as from this February the 8th. The statement, which comes on the back of several evaluation sessions conducted by the same ministry, adds that the online taxi ordering service still does not meet the required standards prescribed by the law. Minister Ngale Bibehe says all public transporters operating clandestinely or wishing to provide services via online applications should ensure their compliance with regulations. Now let's take you over to Yaoundé, because taxi drivers are warning the government not to push them to the wall, considering ongoing negotiations aimed at cushioning the recently hiked cost in petroleum products. They issued the warning during a press conference this day in Yaoundé. Beatrice Ngamo was among the attendees.
1 week with the new increase in fuel prices at filling station, driver boss or employer conflict rife. Drivers are unable to deposit the agreed return or balance as before. Though all right with the fuel price increase, the driver wants accompanying measures to balance the equation. The price of tires have increased. Engine or lubricant oil has increased. Price to renew driver license up with stamps. All have increased, but the government wants us to play social role, remain patriotic and die of hunger while doing so. But with the increase of fuel price, their sector of activities needs to be reorganized also to fight against clandestine transportation. The president of the National Federation of Professional Drivers Unions of Cameroon, Patrice Samen, say they are tired of promises.
La mesure d'accompagnement, c'est la promesse. Ce sont des choses qui se donnent là. C'est pour ça que nous sommes en colère.
Though discussion to move up cab fare from 250 to 300 during the day and 300 to 350 at night, and also has been adopted, it is still to go operational. The press conference in Yaoundé this Wednesday is to express their position while warning of what they are capable of doing.
Les syndicats de chauffeurs vous annoncent aujourd'hui.
The drivers' unionists are announcing today we reserve the right to apply, use all the methods the law offers to pressurize government to sit to the accompanying measures we want. This outing is coming after consultations between the government, the taxi and interurban transport sectors Tuesday in Yaoundé.
Now, fresh figures from the Ministry of Employment and Vocational Training indicate that some 10,000 foreigners are living and qualified for jobs are unemployed. Minister Isachiro Mabakari says it is time to reverse the trends. Here is Sambo Gladys.
About 10,000 foreigners work illegally in Cameroon, whereas about 27.1% of certificate holders remain unemployed, according to statistics from the Ministry of Employment and Vocational Training. It also discloses about 90%, including those admitted to work, apply for 90 days temporary visa as businessmen, investors, private visitors or tourists, yet they finally take up professional work in different sectors illegally. An alarming situation which the Ministry of Employment is ready to stop.
The problem that the government has to face today is the massive unemployment of the youth. It was indispensable to find within ourselves any sort goes through the vocational training in agriculture, in livestock and poultry, in industry.
At this consultation meeting between the Ministry of Employment and Vocational Training and Human Resources Directors of Enterprises, the modalities of collecting financial levies on the visa affixed to employment contracts of foreign personnel as stipulated by the 2023 Finance Law were explained.
The new instruments that have been put in place for people to respect, it is going to change and it is going to benefit the workers and benefit the country, generally the nation.
The phenomenon of irregular foreign workers has also been attributed to the numerous ongoing development projects in the country. The measure taken by government will prevent young people from being spectators of development in their country.
And as the countdown continues narrowing to the commemoration of National Youth Day come February the 11th, activities countrywide have continued gaining intensity. And Chia Hyacinth says on the sidelines, they're showcasing Cameroon's cultural diversity.
They came from schools across the Yaoundé capital city to partake in this youth forum aimed at sensitizing the young people against the green vices within the educational milieu.
We are trying to rebuild some moral values, some ethics and civics in them anyway.
The sensitization campaign ahead of the 57th National Youth Day is placed under the patronage of the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Civic Education and the Cameroon National Youth Council, all geared towards redressing the youth to the right path.
Young people are the present and the future of Cameroon. So we don't want a distracted young people. Through this kermesse, it's also a way for them to celebrate with us while we are sensitizing them.
Music artists who graced the ceremony, like the ex-Malaya group, also condemned with the last energy the consumption of hard drugs and alcohol by students.
We say no to... All right, very good.
And aside sensitizing them, the police in charge of schools and universities equally expressed their determination to crack down both the dealers and the consumers of the bad substances.
Lorsque vous refusez ces méthodes préventives, nous sommes obligés d'accélérer un peu pour la répression.
They come together at the Yaoundé Municipal Neighborhood this February 8th was also to implant the notion of culture in the learners with all the 4 cultural zones of the country highly represented.
Now, organic farming is not an entirely new concept for farmers in Cameroon, even though very few among them have embraced the method which experts say is environmentally friendly. And in the lead up to the commemoration of 11th February, which is National Youth Day in Cameroon, Dee Maureen has been talking to a student who is passionate about organic farming. Her account.
Described as an agricultural process that uses biological fertilizers, and pest control acquired from animals or plant waste, organic farming is fast becoming an answer to environmental sufferings caused by the use of chemicals, pesticides, and synthetic fertilizers. In Cameroon, some farmers are long aligned to these methods, while others are still to measure its advantages to their health and environment.
Here we have what we commonly call compost and organic fertilizer, which is a mixture of chicken droplets, pork droplets, rabbit slaughters, cow dung, and all the other vegetation of dry leaves of mangoes and pear, that we mix them so that it can retain water in the soil when we fertilize our crops.
Miriam is a young learner from an agricultural school in Fumban. She is passionate about agriculture but remains worried on the effects of phytosanitary products which continue to pollute the environment. On the sidelines of Youth Day, she explains the process of sustainable agriculture.
The importance of compost here, it is a fertilizer which is rich in nitrogen and it fertilizes the soil and the plant. The good advantage of it is because it's a fertilizer that does not damage the environment. So unlike chemical fertilizer, here is the biological fertilizer. It protects the environment and the surrounding.
But the major issues with organic farming is a lack of inadequate infrastructure and marketing of the products.
Now, heads of UN agencies operating under Cameroonian skies and their government counterparts have been meeting in Douala to discuss ways of improving coordination for the better implementation of UN-funded projects in the country. The three-day brainstorming session, like Dee Maureen once again says, will culminate in community engagement actions. Her story.
The retreat is an annual event that brings together the 23 agencies that make up the United Nations system in Cameroon with specific objectives.
The retreat has as objective, one, for us as a UN country team to reflect on how we can better improve our collaboration in support of government, of our cooperation framework. And let me say here that our cooperation framework is aligned to the SND 30, which is the National Development Framework, which we are also proud to say is very aligned to the SDGs.
The stakes are high in every domain, from governance system of countries, impact of COVID and Ukraine-Russian war, climate change and environmental issues. It was imperative for them to flash back on 2022 and analyze achievements.
Significant for us is the start of the implementation of our cooperation framework, which is what we agreed with government, and the big achievement for us in 2022 was to start the implementation of that. Two, we also, within the implementation of this program set up, and by the way, the development results groups are not just UN staff sitting together, we also have extended the membership of these groups.
The retreat brought together the heads of UN agencies and partners from governments to discuss ways of enhancing cooperation towards the implementation of United Nations development goals in long term. The retreat also included a community engagement session to engender common understanding of the benefits of the United Nations interventions to local communities.
And out of Cameroon now to the United States of America, where President Joe Biden's words, the U.S. will stand with Ukraine for as long as it takes. Speaking during his State of the Union address Tuesday, Biden promised to continue working for NATO to maintain the coalition against what he termed Russian aggression.
We stood against Putin's aggression. We stood with the Ukrainian people till tonight. We're once again joined by Ukraine's ambassador to the United States. She represents not just her nation, but the courage of her people. Our ambassador is here, united. We're united in our support of your country. Will you stand so we can all take a look at you? Thank you. Because we're going to stand with you as long as it takes.
That was President Joe Biden at his State of the Union address on Tuesday. Alain Gislain Kanga will be up with more news at 1950. In the meantime, Janice Kamgas, direct and live from Yaoundé, will delve into discussions regarding the commemoration come February 11th of the National Youth Day. It's on that note that we call it quits, asking you to stay safe, run away from trouble on the double until we come back around tomorrow. Bye-bye.